I was really grateful from both ends. I was really grateful to both of them. I was really grateful. God damn it. Welcome and thanks for joining me. I've got something a little bit different here today. What I have is, at least for myself, a rather unique opportunity to try out some higher level sim racing equipment. And specifically what I'm referring to, as you'll see behind me here, is the Simagic Alpha Mini wheelbase, as well as Simagic's P2000 pedal set. Now before I get too far into this, a couple of thank yous I need to throw out here. First being to the great people at simracingpros.com, and the second being to Douglas Thompson. Now Douglas is another YouTube content creator, and if you're not familiar with his channel, absolutely would recommend checking it out. He's got a lot of great content on there, sim racing as well as a few other things. Certainly good stuff if you're into good stuff, which I am. So how this opportunity came to me is I had actually woken up one morning to an email from Douglas saying, hey, do you want to review the Simagic Alpha Mini wheelbase and P2000 pedal set? Turns out he had gotten it from simracingpros.com, and they had told him, hey, when you're done with your review, if you know anyone else who wants to take a crack at this, do a review video, feel free to send it out to them. So awesome of them to suggest that, and again, huge thank you to Douglas for thinking of me. Yeah, this isn't my stuff. Again, I want to clarify that here. I've just got this for a little while, and I'm going to send it off to somebody else so they can do their thing with it. Now, admittedly, in having this sent over, what I was most excited for was not doing this YouTube video, which that was a cool bonus, but mostly I just wanted to try a direct drive wheelbase. I had never ever tried that before. It was kind of the holy grail, if you will, of sim racing for me, and frankly, I didn't think I was going to get to try one until I shelled out the money to get one. But like many people in that position, I had the thoughts of, is it worth it? What's it gonna be like? Is it dramatically gonna change my sim racing experience? And I know I'm not the only person out there who has had these kind of thoughts coming from that entry-level or mid-level equipment and looking at perhaps purchasing something like a Simagic Alpha Mini or the P2000 pedal set, or other direct drive wheelbases and higher end pedal sets. So what I want to do here today is not going to be a in-depth nuts and bolts, getting down to the nitty-gritty and going over all the features type review. Instead, what I want to do here today is just take a quick look, a little brief drive around, and just give you my thoughts on what's it like moving from what I had to what I've got here. So without any further ado, let's get into it. All right, now real quick, just something I wanted to touch on before we get out on track here is the clutch, because I won't really be using it much during the race, but that's the noise. Just let you listen to it here. The clutch is cool in that it kind of simulates like a bite point on an actual clutch, but it has this sliding metal pin that reaches a stop of a metal track that just kind of slams into the end. So if you're like me, someone who noise is a concern, I race at night a lot, my wife, my kid are asleep, that's going to be an issue, especially if you race a lot of like H pattern where you're going to be engaging that clutch a lot. So just something to be aware of there. I don't know if that can be modified in any way. Another thing to touch on are the paddle shifters. They are magnetic, so a bit of a click to them. They feel great, phenomenal feeling. And they're not too loud, nowhere near as loud as the clutch. But again, if noise is a concern, something to take into consideration. All right, so gonna do a little talk and drive at Donington Park here in Automobilista 2. And in honor of the fact that we are running the GT4 rim from Simagic, I'm gonna do a GT4 race. It just seemed appropriate. I'm gonna run my favorite GT4, which is the McLaren 570S. And let's go ahead and see what it's like to use this equipment. All right, here we go. Coming off the line. Now, I'll talk about the pedals first, and this is, I haven't used them much, just a couple laps just to kind of dial things in. But I think I've already got a pretty good opinion of kind of what these can offer you. over something like what I'm used to, the Thrustmaster TLCM, more pedals within that, similar price range. And that's mainly adjustability and being able to get the feel exactly as you want it to be. You're not going to be faster because you're using these pedals versus, like again, a TLCM or, frankly, anything else, even like a potentiometer-based pedal. Really, going from potentiometer to load cell is more about consistency than anything. And I'm already there with my TLCMs, but where these blow that out of the water again is adjustability, being able to dial things into the exact feel that I want, which I've already modded my TLCMs to be a much stiffer pedal and have a shorter throw, which is, what I'm after. And, I didn't have to do any separate mods to get that feel here. It's just, the pedal's already set up to be able to give you that. Another cool thing about them, though, is just the level of immersion that they offer and having a much more realistic feeling brake pedal. It's got what I assume is a pneumatic component to it that, I don't know, just feels like a brake pedal should feel in a car. So if you're someone who's, wants to be able to kind of have that granularity and dialing in, the exact feel that they're looking for and be as immersed as possible, then yeah, these pedals are going to serve you. I mean, you're going to have to decide at that point if it's worth it to spend, several hundred extra, dollars, euros, pounds, whatever it is to get that. But, if that's affordable for you and important, then that's what these are offering. As well as what I mentioned earlier, that more realistic clutch, kind of simulating a bite point. That's not a feature you're going to find on a lot of lower-end pedal sets, or, I say low-end, but really mid-tier. Certainly not on low-end, but even mid-tier pedals. Now, kind of moving to the wheel here, the Alpha Mini. Honestly, when I first jumped into driving this, I was not impressed right off the bat. I thought, wow, man, I've waited all this time to try it out, had this opportunity to do it. Totally cut that corner. But right off the bat, it didn't immediately jump out as being like so much different and so much better than my T300. And as I spent more time with it, I kind of understood a little bit more about what it's offering, because frankly, it's not, game-changing in the sense that, it feels like a totally different activity you're doing here. I would say going from, I should have been in second gear. Going from something like a potentiometer-based pedal set to a load cell pedal set was much more of a mind-blowing experience than going from like a belt-driven wheel to a direct drive. But what it does offer you becomes pretty clear after you use it for a while. And actually, something that comes to mind was a conversation I had with Douglas Thompson in an interview that he did with me, which is where we first got acquainted a little bit. We were talking about direct drive wheels because I had never used one, and he said that when he had first made the switch himself, he was feeling things to the wheel that he didn't even know he wanted to feel. And I think that was a very apt description of it. It's kind of like, one of those scenarios where, you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, I didn't know what I wasn't feeling. It's not something that is gonna, again, it's not gonna make you faster over an individual lap, but it is likely to make you more consistent. In fact, one of the biggest areas that, I can see a huge advantage to a wheelbase like this, because it is frankly easier to, feel when you're on the edge of that grip limit. But catching slides it's a huge difference. And I'm sure I will likely get to experience it in this race here, as I'm hardly paying attention to the driving I'm doing. But man, I feel like it's like a 50% or more increase in my ability to catch a slide. And that might even be conservative. It's pretty amazing on that level. But just like the clarity of everything that you do feel is amazing. You know, again, when I first tried it, I was like, man, do I really want to spend the money on this? Because I've been saving up for a direct drive wheel. That's something that, you know, is kind of the next step, right? Naturally, as you kind of get more into the sport, the hobby, whatever you want to call it. You know, it's kind of where you want to go eventually. And when I first tried this, I was like, oh man, I might be using that money for something else. I just don't know if it's worth it. But again, after I've spent some more time with this, I've realized it is definitely, it's not a huge leap from where I'm at, but it's enough of a leap to justify spending some money on it. You know, if this is a hobby that you want to, you know, continue with, again, it's not necessary, it's not needed. I'm not going to be faster, I'm not going to be a better racer, at least over an individual lap. Now, over an entire race, that's a different story, because this offers the, you know, better ability to sense that finite point of grip, especially when you're trying to re-engage grip from after coming out of like a slide. That is a huge difference, and could absolutely be the difference between a ruined race and managing to, you know, save something and come away with something out of an outing. I think if you're trying to take this seriously, that alone makes this worth it. And then you, of course, get into the, you know, immersion factor. Just every little bump, every detail on the, you know, road. It's, again, clarity is the word that comes to mind. You know, and I've never, this is the first direct drive wheel I've used, so I don't know how this Alpha Mini compares to other things out there. And again, that's not really how I wanted to look at this, because I don't have that experience to say, oh, well, you know, this is better than a, you know, CSLDD or anything like that. Or even right there, see, I was almost losing it because I wasn't paying very good attention. But I didn't. I was able to sense where that level of grip was and re-engage in a much easier way than I would have before. So again, I don't know how this compares to other direct drive wheelbases, but just coming from something like a mid-tier belt-driven wheel, man, I keep going to the 5th gear coming up in here, and it really shouldn't be. But coming from that type of a setup, again, it's not mind-blowing. It's not a completely different experience, but it is a finite level of detail that I was not used to. I'm probably repeating myself here, but that's like really the point I want to drive home. Is it's just like, you know, taking it from 75% to 100. You know, you're already almost got everything you need out of it. But this takes you all the way there. Another thing that I was interested in, you know, is relevant to me, is I have a DIY rig here. You can actually see it better in this video than you can in most of my other videos. I've actually converted, I have an adjustable sawhorse, a metal sawhorse, that I've actually mounted my triple monitors to via just like regular monitor mounts. So it's got some, you know, weight on it, so it's not super light or anything, but I was concerned, like, if I put a direct drive wheelbase on it, how is it going to handle that? You know, is this going to be shaking things apart to the point where, you know, it's useless? And obviously I have a pretty unique rig here. I've never seen anyone do it up like this. I also have some supplementary bracing, if you will, in the extra piece I have here for my handbrake. But, you know, with a wheel like this, the cool thing is you can really adjust the, you know, power level, if you will, and make it more something in line with, you know, a belt-driven wheel as far as how many, you know, newton meters of force it's exhibiting. But you're still going to get that extra level of clarity out of the wheel. Like, I'm thinking I'm running this at like half capability, which puts it closer to like 5 newton meters. So what, that's right in line with a CSLDD without the boost kit. And I'm still blown away. Like, I don't feel like, oh, too wide. I don't feel like I need to go any stronger than this. In fact, when I first started using this, I was like, man, my wrist kind of hurts. This is a bit of a workout. I'm not used to this. And that's even just you know, at like half power. So you can definitely turn these down if you're on like a wheel stand or a DIY rig that's not as rigid. If you don't have a, you know, aluminum profile rig, you can still definitely turn this down and get everything out of it that you would with a, you know, or having what you need out of a direct drive wheel without basically shaking your stuff to pieces. So that's about it. All I would have to say on this. This is definitely a fantastic wheelbase. Great feel. The wheel itself feels really good in the hand. I would have loved a round wheel personally, so I could have tried out some like rally. But that's something I'll have to check out later. And for what this is fantastic. So, you know, once again, thanks to simracingpros.com and Douglas Thompson for sending this over. This has been a great experience getting to try this. And again, if you're in the market looking to move up from that mid-tier equipment up to something like a direct drive wheel, if you've got the money, if it's not a financial burden, and if you want to take your stuff to the next level, especially with the wheelbase, yeah, absolutely. This is a great wheel. Again, I don't know how it compares to some of what else is on the market, but just in a general sense, direct drive, you know, it is kind of all it's cracked up to be. Don't expect anything life-changing, but on a finite scale, it's where you want to be. So on that note, thanks for joining me. Appreciate having you along, and we'll catch you again next time.